Coming to you straight from the Rio Grande and beyond, broadcasting to the four corners of the globe. So grab your seat, your coffee, or your sundowner.
Okay, everybody, here we go.
On point, as always. This is Gloves Off. Gloves Off.
Back at you and Gloves Off. I'm Paul Buitrón. I'm here with a dear friend, Guru Joe Judt, and we're touching base on Silat and how he got involved in it, just everything that's been going on, and just have a nice talk. How are we doing, brother? You doing good?
Doing fantastic. How are you, Paul?
I'm doing great. It's a pleasure. It's been a long time, but it's good that we're always connected back and forth in Facebook land. But at least we know everybody's okay.
Absolutely, but it has been way too long.
Yeah, and I went in there and I saw a video the other day of you, and I said, "Hey, and here it is. I'm going to put something in there." And he goes, "Add as friend." And I'm like, "What happened here?" And then I went back, and I've been in Facebook jail so many times, and all of a sudden, every time I go in there, I'm missing friends when I come back out. So I'm like, okay. But let's touch base. A lot of people know Silat. A lot of martial artists know the word Silat. A lot of people do not know what Silat is. Let's put it that way. Silat is growing now. Before it was 20 years ago, and for sure 30, 40 years past, right? You're one of the ones that was around Victor Pac-Vic, for people who know him, Guru Pac-Vic. How did you get involved in Silat, and why Silat?
Well, it's funny. I started training in the dark ages, 1979, in judo, and we happened to have it in my high school, so it was free and I could do as much as I wanted. And I had a number of things going for me. I was small, I was uncoordinated, and I was one of those smart ass kids, right? So it was a brutal effort to become any kind of competent player. And I had been engaged in judo. I had joined this other school and remained nameless, right, doing something that was okay, and I was starting to develop some actual skill. I was visiting other schools and sparring and doing things, and I thought I was turning into some pretty hot stuff. And then one of the Tuarez brothers came through town, and one of his students was like, "Yeah, I'll spar with you in the back lot." Right, it's a gravel back lot. And seconds later, I was face down on the gravel, right, and I was rubbing the gravel off and the blood off my face. And could you do that again? Because I couldn't figure out how. And I was standing up, and then I was on the floor. There was no motion of, "Oh, I'm being thrown now," right? Which you'd have in judo or virtually anything else I'd seen at that point.
Sure.
So I was immediately entranced. And of course, the school I was involved with had weird politics going on. And he made up all these stories about how you couldn't just reach out to these guys. And it just started a journey that got me through all these different arts, looking for things that interacted or operated at this kind of level. And eventually I found Steve Garten,
Sure.
In Denver. And had, in between everything else I was doing, I was very active in Chinese martial arts. I was a Shuai Jiao coach for a long time. Won some Sanda tournaments, did all that stuff. And I started traveling to Steve, and everyone could spot me in the Chinese schools. Everyone could see what I was doing, because I was all of a sudden doing these weird little things to people, right? And I finally hit a point where I moved to California, and the first thing I did is I went looking for the Tuarez brothers, right? And I found Victor, and I started training with a fellow by the name of Mike Roberto, who was in Santa Cruz, and with Victor. And, then Victor was taking us around. And then one day my door rang. Now, I lived on top of a mountain off of Sausalito. No one visited me, right? I didn't know anyone in this area. Doorbell rings. The voice comes over at Steve Garten. "Hey, brother, what are you doing?" And I looked at my new fiance and I go, "I'll see you later." And I was out the door, boom, right? And so now I was training with Victor's group. I was training with Steve's group. It was just a great time. We're traveling. I'm meeting people like you and all the others. In that larger family. There used to be a guy named Woody. There was Bob Vanetta, of course.
Sure.
All sorts of guys. Chris Geelan came later and stuff. Was really something else. It was really an amazing time, and I had the good pleasure of actually living at Victor's school for a while when I was living in LA. Which was just an eye-opening experience. He was such a generous and giving guy. And of course,
Absolutely.
everyone in the group was fascinating. But for me, it was a matter of, how did I hit the ground like that? How did I hit that gravel? What do I do to get that kind of skill? And suddenly I was being exposed to two different sides of that equation. Victor's very didactic, analytical approach to things. And then you had Steve Garten. Now, Steve was older than me, and really mellow guy. And he's like, yeah, man, let's do this thing. And I'm thinking, well, I've been a Sandat champion, right? I can spar with this guy. Let me spar with this guy. So I sparred with him, and I ended up jumping on a stack of chairs just to get away from him, because he was hitting me so many. People usually didn't hit me. It was a shock to me, right? So there was something about this stuff, this Silat, this Kuntao, this mix of stuff that just pulled me in, because my interest was always, what's practical, what's effective, what's useful. I'm from Chicago, and if you read the news, Chicago is a peace-loving, charming place where nothing bad ever happens. So we don't really need martial arts very much.
And it's nice to see somebody that has that facetious attitude the same way, and it's good to see. Everything that you're saying, it's correct. I mean, and Steve's an excellent individual. He's an excellent individual, and I'm glad that he's continued so long. Okay, and giving light to everybody that's going on. And there's way others out there. You mentioned Bob Bonetta. Bob Bonetta is another individual he's a rough and tumble individual.
Absolutely.
They all are. And they're bone rollers. These are guys that are going to back you up. They're going to be right next to you. They're not the guy that's going to say, I got your back. You see, when I hear somebody say, you're in the bar, and he goes, oh, I'm right behind you. You're there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Bob, I've seen Bob right here next to me when we've gotten into little entanglements, especially here in Laredo.
Well, I could tell you a little story about like Victor's guys. There was I won't say who, but there was another martial arts group that I had, we'll call it a disagreement. And that disagreement had resorted to them engaging in all sorts of interesting behavior that could lead to conflict. And they were going to be at this event that I was going to in Denver that, I think it was one of Uncle Bill Willem de Toirs was hosting. And Victor was like, hey, you want to go to this event? And I go, yeah, I'll go, but I got to tell you, these guys that he's having come out, I may have having to fight them, there, because they're, they got a problem. And he goes, okay. I go, okay, I'll go. There's no problem with that. So on the way into the hotel, I happened to bump into Victor and a bunch of other guys at the airport, and we all came over together. We're going in there, and this guy, Woody, who used to be with Victor, bought something. He goes, hey, I just want to tell you something, Joe. He goes, Victor told me about the thing with these guys, and he said, if there's 2 or 3 of them picking a fight with me, just let me handle it. But if it's more, we got your back. And he meant that sincerely. And I thought that is the sweetest thing everyone's ever told me. In fact, the statement was a little bit stronger than what I just said, but you can imagine how it went. But it was fun. And of course, the minute I walked in the door, those guys were apologizing and hugging and wanting to talk to me and make peace, because not only did I walk in unafraid, but I walked in with Victor and all his guys. So,
and it happens. In the martial arts, there's a lot of egos out there, and unfortunately, it happens. Back then, you should go just walk across, and there's an empty lot, and who comes back is the one that won. Those were the good days. Then all of a sudden it happened that they'll start insulting you, and you go and you dojo bust. You go over there and you enroll yourself as a student. I grew up with that in Dallas.
Yeah.
You do that now, you walk into the parking lot, they're already calling 911, and that's a different story. And stuff like that, unfortunately, has put a damper in the arts, because there's no more testing.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, I grew up in Chicago, where I grew up. I mean, we're famous for our dojo wars. This was this was national news kind of stuff. And even by the time I was coming up in the martial arts, it was still prevalent. We go to the fights at St. Viator's or St. Andrew's gyms, and we'd stay for the fights in the parking lot.
Yeah.
You know, it was just the way things were done. People would come in for challenges, and I talk about this today, and people look at me like something's wrong with me, and I'm thinking, nah, maybe the problem's with you. You know, I mean, because something gets lost when everything is too nerf safe, and you don't have to face, you know, the actual usage of the art, right? You know, on the one hand, you don't want people going around being bullies and being cretins about martial arts. You don't want criminal activity, but being able to test the art, what is it without that?
That's exactly, and there has to come, whether it's in competition or not. There's a difference between sparring. And competition's good, whether it's the Taekwondo point sparring, as well as, you know, boxing, as well as savate in the ring where they're trying to take your head off. I mean, we did all that. We did that. You know, one particular time I was third in the world. I did that for a reason. You know, I lost my hand, had 11 surgeries, you know, and reconstructed the whole thing. And it's something that you see, that testing, it's there. Okay. You know, having a savate club, being an American, being a Rican in Paris, there was testing going on. You know, there's a reason why I'm still here. You know what I'm saying?
I hear you.
You know, so to me, that's neither there nor here nor there. It's part of what we're doing. It's part of the business that you're doing. But there's a difference between going out there and physically either insulting people, okay?
Yeah.
And then when somebody comes up and says, "What did you say?" They call you out on it. All of a sudden, whoop, 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 they start stuttering. And that happens way too often now. There's a difference now. Back then, you know, Victor was a bone roller. His brothers are bone rollers. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
The first generations were sidewalk thumpers. You know, these are guys that they whisper about. You know, you see that guy over there? A little bit of whisper. See that guy over there? Fuck with that guy over there. And that kind of resonated within that field of Silat. Even though there's a lot of other Silat running around, that resonated amongst them. Everybody else you knew that was happening there. Don't mess around with them, because something's going to happen. They're going to pop you around they're going to tell you it works. And the same thing happens with other arts. You know, the Kempo had the same thing. You know, Kempo grew up with that. You know, I've been doing Kempo since I was 17. You know, and when you see that, and you talk with the first generations of Parker, they were the same way.
Yeah, you know, it's a martial art.
It's a martial art, you know. So, but nowadays it's changing. Now, and I'm not here emphasizing for people to go out there and start dojo busting or going out there and start picking fights. That's not what we're here for. But you know, that is part of the history down there.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, like I said, no one should be a bully. No one should be acting up. But martial artists should be able to perform their art.
Absolutely.
Just period. It makes no sense if you can't. Now, at the same time, you know, you don't want to be a monster. You know, you don't want to walk around and abuse your skill in any sense or fashion.
Absolutely.
But you should be able to test it between yourself and other people. Like when I was younger, before MMA and all this stuff happened, I had a teacher, Manuel Rodriguez. He was a Chuka and Bak Mei instructor. And he would have us, he was also a judo competitor back in the day. I knew him from judo. And he used to have us carry every kind of uniform in our trunks. We had a judo gi, we had a taekwondo gi, we had a karate gi, we had shorts and a t-shirt. And he would take us to different places and gyms, and we'd have to learn the rules while we're sitting there going, okay, I can kick, I can't punch. What are the rules? I can throw people, but I can't punch. Okay, but I knew judo, so that was okay. And you have to compete on a moment's notice according to any rules and do well, or else you dealt with him, and he was, you know, a little rough.
Sure.
But that was a great experience because you just got used to using the art. And so when people were, let's say, less than honorable, you had no concern, but you also had a good realistic sense of yourself. So you're not going around being a jerk. I mean, that's the other side of it.
Absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely.
something,
Absolutely.
it's almost like in martial arts, there is a kind of, I call it martial materialism, right? The ego gets involved and people are chasing the next belt or the next certificate or the next cool, shiny object and style. And what they're not doing is putting that stuff into themselves, right? That's like when I first saw you moving, I was getting yanked away to go to the bar. And I was like, wait, this guy, he's got something. I was watching you throw some kick punch combinations, but there's a line you were on and the way you were feeding it. And I was like, don't make me go to the bar, but I had to go to the bar, right? But you know, it gets inside of you and you can see it when someone has that. And it informs everything you do. And if you're just dealing with that outside structure or trying to feed your ego or build your little thing, it gets, you never get that. And so it's tragedy. And I think that's what this Nerf world we live in now is creating, because you don't get that challenge.
Absolutely. And it changes, you know, it changes with, especially I'm going to go into COVID now, you know, when it popped out and everybody went to lockdown, I said to myself, you know, I was talking to my wife and I said, I'm going to see how many schools actually come back. You know, here in Laredo, we had 48 schools. Only 12 are open now.
Wow.
Okay. And if you actually looked at all the rec centers and all the gyms that had their own little niche that usually stands there, all the rec centers, you're talking about probably in the 70s, you know? But right now, there's some schools aren't going to open up again. You got schools that have been around in communities for 20, 30 years, 40 years that are no longer around. You know, and you have these schools that have made way too many people in society, in the community in general, that have become good members of society. That's what you're looking for, you know?
Yeah.
And that's what you're focusing on is yeah, he can defend himself. Yes, he's going to defend himself. Yes, he's going to be stand up, but he's also going to be a stand up man. He's going to be one that's going to shake hands and say, this is the way it's done. And that's basically what you want in a school, you know? Absolutely, right. If we do compete, they're going to know you that your guys are going to be good enough. They're going to come in there. They're going to give you competition.
Yeah, and have good manners and handle things well. I mean, that's all part of the equation too. That I think, you know, I love combat sport because I originally started in combat sport, and I'm all Kuntao and Silat and stuff all the time. But I made my bones fighting Sanda, doing Shuai doing judo, and it was all pre-UFC world, right? And the great thing about the rise of combat sport is that you have that sportsmanship. And the sad part of it is that sometimes you see that being lost to the, you know, kind of the meathead culture, I call it the pro wrestling culture, where it's not the same. And the funny part is, as like a so-called traditional martial artist, most of the schools I end up working out of or being friends with are MMA gyms or Muay Thai gyms and stuff, because they share more of a common philosophy, right? With actual martial art versus some of these corner schools and dojos and whatnot, right? So it's a strange time. And the tragedy of it is, right when all this was shaking out, like the whole industry is just kind of evolving, and you see people finally doing things that involve, you know, actual competition. And now it's all separated because of COVID. Everything's, you know, people don't have people to work out with anymore. I have clubs in something like, I don't know, 7 or 8 states and over in Europe, right, working out with me. And all of a sudden their students are gone, except for Texas. Texas doesn't care apparently, but you know, things.
You're correct.
Weird.
You're correct.
And here in Virginia Beach, I mean, I drive around, I look at different schools because I know some of these guys now. This is a strong martial arts town. There's some great people here, far more than I expected when I moved here. I mean, it was something else. And gone, just one after the other, gone. And these were places that were packed before it started.
Absolutely. And you know, right now it's the scares comes up again. I was telling, you know, my wife teaches capoeira, and kind of my, you know, kind of got into capoeira in a weird way. You know, I had a partnership, I had a pizzeria at one particular time, and my partners were Brazilian, my wife's Brazilian. And he says, my father-in-law's coming in, he knows Brazilian Kung Fu. Can I bring him to your school? And I said, sure, man, come on over. So we're working out. I'm there in Savat, teaching Savat. He comes in there, greatest gentleman you can see. You know, he was a mestre under Angolero. And he was also a pastor. His name was Raimundo, you know. and he was in there with a suit. So he takes off his coat, and he's in the vest with a tie, blue tie, I remember, and a light blue vest. And he goes, okay, throw me a kick, and poop, he brings one down. I'm like, okay, do it again, kind of thing. And it caught my eye. But when we started, we didn't have a beating bow, we didn't have a pandero, we didn't have a tambourine, we didn't have the drums, we didn't have nothing like that. So it was something that started with 4 guys, and it says, okay, do you mind if I come back next Saturday? So all of a sudden, now we have a capoeira class on Saturday. So it went from 4 to, in 6 months, we had 60 guys more so than we did the Silat. You know what I'm saying? And it just kind of like, then he leaves and everybody kind of looks at you. So what's next? So we're like, oh, okay. So we went with Bida, which is Messi Accordion from the San Francisco area. Now he's in Santa Fe, I believe, near Santa Fe. But he was out there for the longest time, Richmond area, and trying to think of where Berkeley.
Yeah, when I lived out there, there was a capoeira cafe in Berkeley.
That's him. Yeah.
Okay, I used to sit there and watch the class, having a coffee all the time.
Yeah. And
at one point, I said I was going to do that. One of my students started laughing at me. So,
and Bida, which is Messi Accordion, we're talking about opening up a pizzeria, and I said, I'd like to have a pizzeria with a boxing gym, and people can work out, and you can have it over here, and people looking off. And then he takes that, changes a little bit, makes that cafe back then. Yeah. So he did a damn good thing over there. But capoeira is good. I like capoeira. I like all martial arts. I like martial arts that have soul and meaning within the culture. Understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And most of them do. Most of them do. A lot of them do not, but most of them do. And like Vic, like Pac Vic and Uncle, and even Pendenkar, and what they instilled onto everybody, it had heart and soul. Even everybody took off their variants and their mentality base on it, what they could grasp from it. Now you see them. Now you see the first generation students and the second generation students co-training or cross-training with each other, and it's coming out better. Understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with that. But there's that authenticity that you look for, and it's like an intrinsic thing. How do you define that? That's difficult, because I think there's some people would say, oh yeah, this is very authentic, and you look at it and it's missing something, right? But there's something when people put their heart and soul into it, and they're tied to that history of what made it, even if they don't even have the history correct or have no idea what the words mean, which I've encountered, right? But they have the art, and they get that continuity, and the fact that it has to. It's not like a hard and fast thing. It's a flexible thing. There are things, there are principles, there are rules that carry through time, and adapts it to those different time frames, right?
Right.
But then there's that danger of if you're too locked in. Your Pac Vic used to talk about this. If you're locked in the room with your guru, all you smelled was the guru's BO. He used a different word, but and he was right about that. You had to look outside a little bit. And here was the guy who grew up with his family's art and all this stuff. But he was always, everyone who showed up, Paul Silva showed up doing his stuff. And he's, oh, Paul, come here. Let me see how you're doing that. Jerry McCleary was another guy that showed up once, and and you and on and on. And there's that how do you make your art work against everything that's out there, right? And that's the journey we're all on. And not just you're learning something, but then learning it means if you learned it, you must apply it. And if you apply it, you must understand your environment, right? And that's something also that I think gets missed. And that's where the authenticity gets lost. All those early guys, they were head knockers, but they were applying what they knew. Right? First time I saw Paul Torres, just blew my mind, because I'm like, how does this guy, who's clearly not in the best shape of his life, right, effortlessly walk through people? And I'm not talking about the guys you see in demos who are sitting there holding a punch out. I'm talking about guys who are like trying to feed a shot to get a shoot in or something, try to fake them out, and they end up with a busted nose and on the ground. And that's being polite. It was a polite thing. The guy was trying to fake them out, right? How does he do that, right? There's something going on. There's some magic there that we need to catch and snatch into our bottles and figure out. But what it was is he was applying what he learned. He was bringing it to the environment he was in.
Absolutely. He was what he learned. That's what the difference is. There's a time, no matter how you train, and how you train is how you're going to be doing it. If you train and you never make any contact with anybody, believe me, when something happens and you have to fight, I guarantee you're not going to make the efficient contact with that person that's coming at you. You have to have some how can I say, some thumping behind it. And I think when I used to see him, and they all used to move differently. Uncle.
Yeah, I mean, you look
how can you just jump up so much speed and power in such quickness? You know what I'm saying? In such intensity right off the bat.
Yeah, I mean, there's a I think there's something about the individual, how they do things, right? And, what's a funny story is I was running a club out here before COVID. I shut it down right before COVID because I knew it was coming, and for various reasons, I knew I'd be very busy once COVID hit. But I had a bunch of my students around the country flew in to train with me, and I brought them to my club, and they all demonstrated the exact same thing. And I had students going, is that the same thing? And I go, yeah, it's exactly the same thing. But each one of those guys has made it to suit them, to suit their personality of how they like to, what strategies they like to use to fight, the types of power they like to generate. You know, they're doing the exact same thing, but to the guys in the class, it looked like so wildly different. But that's a natural outbreak of, training for 10 or 12 years, right? You're going to have things that work for you. Same bucket of stuff, same bucket of tools, but how you assemble those tools and use them. How tall are you? How short are you? How fat are you? How skinny are you? How energetic are you? How this? What did you focus on? Right? It comes out different. And the good news is about this stuff is it's so flexible that you can have a wide range of things that are really, really good because they're just following the right rules, right?
Absolutely.
I don't think the same thing applies to some stuff. Like if you're doing Greco-Roman wrestling, there's some very specific stuff you must do to have, but in this, I think it's more flexible.
Absolutely. Well, let's just, what you're saying, let's just look at boxing. Everybody knows the jab, cross, uppercut, hook, maybe an overhead every so often. But all of a sudden, that's around the world. And there's 4 different styles of boxing just here in the United States, and all the different derivatives, and now worldwide. You know what I'm saying? So it's and then boxing just, and people say, oh, it's really simple. Really?
Yeah, it's not. I mean, I'm from Chicago. I have a lot of buddies who are boxers, right? And they mistake me for someone who understands boxing, right? Which is hilarious because I end up cornering boxing matches where I'm just like, you don't want me? Oh, I want you to be their guru. I'm like, I don't even know what terminology. I can wrap your hands. That's about it, right? Otherwise, I'll scream things at you in Chinese or Indonesian, and you won't know what they mean. So why are you doing this to me, right?
So you look at him, and you look at that here. We have Laredo's a boxing, just like Chicago. It's a boxing town. So you grew up, you're either going to find a guy from karate, taekwondo, or boxing. More likely, it was a boxing guy, and you became friends. Because those were the only guys that really understood everything else. The rest of the guys kept on crying until this day. But what happens is in boxing, you see the derivatives. You see it in Silat. They were all brothers.
Yeah,
they were all taught the same thing.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying. So and then each one of them has his own personality, doing everything different. You know what I'm saying? People say, no, they're doing different. When you look at them, you're saying, no, it's the same.
Oh,
it's just different body types and different personalities.
It's different. I mean, in Chicago, so I know a lot of boxers in Chicago, right? And I've played with a lot of them. They're friends of mine. And in Chicago, it's, at least back in the day, I don't know what it's like now, but back in the day, everyone basically came from some of the same roots. They came out of the YMCAs and stuff. But if I went to a gym on the Southwest side, an Irish gym, they had a particular flavor. Each one of those gyms had a different flavor. I'd go into the projects, where I was always welcome. I never had a problem. They had their own flavor too, right? Their own approach. And it was always constantly evolving. But then also these guys were all, even though they were competing against each other in competitions, they're students, these guys were all hanging out together too. That's the other part that's missing today. Everyone's so isolated. I'm special, or this is special. And they're not having dinner at night, hanging out, drinking and telling stories about what happened with their buddies and figuring out how to solve problems in their own gym by talking to other guys who also have gyms, right? And that's another thing I think that's been lost, is that lack of community amongst the teachers, right?
And that cross training, that interchanging of ideas. And you see that, I remember I was talking to Uncle one time, and Uncle says, your seafood, TC. I remember him back when he was in California, when he won the internationals, and you're like, so he knew somebody back then. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And, he goes, yeah, we used to go train with Ed Parker. And then you start looking back and you start kind of saying, okay, when? And then you see Grandmaster Mike Pick say, oh yeah, I used to drive the old man over to the Detours, and they used to work out, and I used to just sit and watch. And you're like, so people were cross training back in the 60s.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Or just playing around, exchanging ideas. Understand what I'm saying?
Oh, absolutely.
And people now look at it and they say, no, it never happened. No, it happened. When you got people that don't hang around with each other saying the same thing, something went on.
Something went on there.
You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, I think maybe, martial art went from something that was useful, kept amongst families, used by the military, this or that other thing. And then it had to evolve, right, with changing times. And it evolved into combat sports. It evolved into self-defense. And along with commerce becomes branding and, the need to isolate and silo to keep your rice bowl going, right? And the most successful rice bowls I've ever seen didn't have that attitude, right? I did see it like in some of the Southern Chinese styles, those things came out of the tongs, right? So there was definitely a clannish, cultish mentality to that. But outside of that, the most successful people were widely studied, had friends across the board. They weren't afraid of their students and anyone else because they knew their teaching was good. You know what I mean? The quality was there. I've got guys who are out doing BJJ in the morning when they're not doing my class, or they want to do this or that. Great. As long as you don't stink at what I'm teaching you, I'm fine with that, right? If you stink at what I'm teaching, I'm like, yeah, you can't do anything else because clearly you can't even do this, or go do something else, please.
You know where you see that? You see that in Stockton, California. You see guys that came out of Angel Caballas, guys that came out of Leo Giron, Victor Tino, 3 different styles, all 3 grandmasters, and you see their first and second generations cross training back and forth, moving, and you're like, and then everybody over here says, no, you have to do this one directly, and you cannot step out of line, while everybody else is running all over the place, drinking beer and having kind of left and right and talking and demonstrating this and demonstrating that.
Yeah, you just, as someone who teaches, I have confidence in what I'm teaching. I have confidence in the quality of my students. So I'm all in favor. I only have one exception to that is they have to be at a point where they don't stink, right? If someone's an absolute beginner at something, they need to focus on one thing, get it done, put some skill in your body. Now, when you can start understanding things and doing things, now, make friends. I developed more as a martial artist, visiting other schools and sparring with other schools than I probably ever did in class. And the flip side of that also is even within your own method, sometimes seeing a different teacher, even it could be like, let's say you're teaching and it's one of your students teaching. Some other student might get something from him that you tried showing him a million times. And for some reason, he couldn't get it when you showed it. Other guy shows it. It's magic. I always tell the story. I went to a seminar once by this guy I always thought very highly of. And I walked out of that seminar going, wow, I never saw that aspect of this before. That's amazing. And then about a year later, I'm going through my notes, and Steve Garten had said the exact same thing, showed me the exact same thing like 10 years prior. Somehow I missed it entirely, right? But when the other guy said it, the light went on, right? So there's an advantage to that.
Sure.
And there's also a balance. You don't want you don't want your students to be unappreciative of what you're doing. You don't want to feel like you're being used by students. You're like cry poor to you, but they're paying other guys for lessons and stuff like that, right? I do believe there is an exchange, and since in our society it's no longer considered appropriate to have them painting your house and doing menial labor for you or acting as your security guards at your enterprises, money is that exchange at whatever level it is. And if you're a professional teaching, that's even more important because it reflects on the quality of what's happening. So there's a balance there. There's a balance, but at the same time, every time you go through martial arts history, not everyone got along with everyone, but people interacted and they shared. And I think for a while, at least here in the States, things really calcified, right? And you got some teachers, including people that we've been talking about, who get very, very siloed and very crazy about who's in and who's out and what's this and what's that. That's for the kids.
Absolutely. You want to grow? Let's grow. And it's once the insults start and they start getting personal, and that's a different story. Like I used to tell this, and I remember one time Pat Vic and I had a conversation, and we were talking about, and there was some stuff going on. People were calling each other names, thinking one of the Yahoo boards or whatever.
Yeah.
And I said to myself, these are students of students talking about their teacher's teacher. Like if they know him, they've probably never even met him. Going back and forth. It goes, what needs to happen is that people need to understand protocol and move forward. And I tell my students the following thing. If somebody's out there saying stuff about me, because some people are going to say I'm an asshole and some people are going to say I'm a nice guy. Just the way it is.
Yeah.
And don't get involved. Just shake your head and go off. Don't even start a conversation. Don't even start dialogue or anything else. Unless it gets personal with you, then it's a different story. I said, if something happens, let the teachers handle it. Sometimes the teachers don't even know what the student of the student is saying.
Seen that.
And we've seen that left and right. We don't even know. And then some jamoke over there telling everybody, doing all kinds of stuff. And by the time everybody realized it, it's too late.
Yeah. And you also have
that guy's no longer around. So,
in any of the cases where that you have successful teachers out there, people with a good reputation as a martial artist, who then use that as a way to abuse others or to say any kind of crap that they want. My philosophy on that, and they'll say the absolute most insane stuff, and people going, "Yeah, that's great, thank you. Yeah, that's brilliant." And I go, what does it say about those people following that guy? That they're just going, yeah, I want to, I'm going to back up this crazy, obvious, historically, factually, whatever, or just generally ignorant statement. What does it say about you as a man? Can you follow that? That's a flip side of the martial arts, is people want to be in this in-group sometimes, and that's not always the wisest thing.
Absolutely.
I think martial arts is a personal thing, not a group thing.
I think most people, when they come into learn a martial art, if you have a storefront martial art school, they usually come in for three different things. One, they want to learn how to fight.
Yep.
Second, they're being bullied at school. And third and foremost, it's women that are being stalked or what have you. Okay. They had some issues. Once they go inside, most schools of all the martial arts schools, most people don't know the difference between Silat and Sumo and Taekwondo and Capoeira and Kung Fu and Silat. And you know what I'm saying? Nope, they don't know the difference. They have no idea. They do not even know where Capoeira comes from Brazil, or they have no idea. Okay? So what happens is once they start going in there and they follow somebody that is teaching the wrong history, and starts teaching, in a school that he really hasn't been out there, because there's a lot of instructors out there and I keep saying this, and I say this all the time. There's a lot more frauds in the martial arts than there are pastors and thumping Bibles around. Okay,
Yeah.
and maybe now they're probably about the same number. But what I'm saying is that what happens is you have to look through the BS that's out there. You can't just go to one school and look for okay, this is the school I'm at. You have to look at many different schools and many different instructors to see which ones that group that's there fits your personality.
And I think that's true.
Okay, that's what I tell people that come in. Have you checked around the area? I'm a bad salesman. Okay, have you checked the other schools? Is this something you want to, because most, and all of a sudden they stay. But what I'm saying is that I've seen Korean schools like Taekwondo with a samurai sword. Understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And with a red sun with a praying mantis on it, and you're like, okay,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
I
So
know exactly what you mean.
They start coming back to. I think people need to teach the martial art that they claim they're teaching with a semi-factual history behind it.
Right? Yeah, absolutely. And there's layers there. You walk into school, what's the energy? What's the vibe, right? Does that speak to you at all? That's great. The second thing is, what do the students look like? Right? I could care less what I can do. I could care less what people say about me. I could care less about any trophies I won. What I care about is, what do the students look like? Right? And I'm proud of my students. Everywhere I go, they get treated really well because they can rock and roll, right? And I'm sure that's the case in your school, because I've seen the training that comes out of there. And that matters. And you walk into school and it's all about me, how special I am, and this and that and other thing. I mean, there's a certain amount, I think you have to sell the art. You sell yourself to some degree when you first teach, right? You're going to talk about what your accomplishments are and this, that. You want people with confidence in you. And that's natural. But there's no way for the general public to separate that from the person who's just bullshitting, or the person who is just an egomaniac and wants to be worshipped versus teach you, right? The only way to tell is to look at those students. Are the students good? Now, sometimes you have the egomaniac who does want to teach you, and they're really great, and you can get caught up in that. But that's another animal altogether. And it was much more common back in the early days. But and I love some of those guys, but it's an interesting thing. But I don't want to scare people off of martial arts by talking about this kind of stuff. I don't want to feel like there's this negative and the world is all negative. And there's so many things that are going well right now in terms of what's available. There's never been more information available. Remember back in the day, you had to go find someone who actually knew something, and then you had to get them to try to like you, so they might share something with you, because there was no information. What books that were meaningless, really, except for maybe some books on judo from Japan, right? There was no content. There was no clear guidance. Now there's so much information. Students think information is free.
Absolutely. No, you're correct. You used to go, and they all had the same philosophy, and they all saw Kung Fu, the show, and they all told the same little subcultures within the martial art. It all came from the same place. I tell that to people, and I remember at Pac Vic's, Eric Lee was there one time. They were training, and we're sitting down here, and we're just laughing. We're sitting down, and we're talking about history. And I said, the TV show that produced most of the history, most of the traditions that are floating around in the martial arts is Kung Fu. And they all started laughing. I go, that's it. I go, people look at Kung Fu, and I don't care whether your style is Korean, Okinawan, whatever. It has some elements of that within the school. It influenced the school so much that it floats around the majority of them,
Yeah.
It's funny to see, and once you see it back, it's kind of funny, and we were talking about that, what influenced the most. I said Kung Fu.
Well, it's.
I really wish it was Big Trouble in Little China, but Kung Fu.
I was not put on this earth to get it, Mr. Button. Greatest movie ever made. I could spend a whole hour just talking about that, or just reciting it by heart.
Apparently, they're making another one, aren't they?
That's the rumor. That's the rumor. It's I think The Rock was tied to it. But let's just hope that gets made, because that would be just brilliant.
It would be good.
Especially if they get the same guy to write it. He's still around. But you know, it is a you totally threw me off now with that Big Trouble in Little China reference. It's, you know, it's kind of, you go back in the Wayback Machine, just like in Chicago in the 80s, right? We had this cult called Chung Mu Kwan.
Yeah,
and it was the most ridiculous stuff you ever saw. Now I was coming up in judo, and then I was doing some bare knuckle karate stuff with this Kempo school. So I was visiting like the Kyokushinkai guys and sparring with them, and just trying to find my way in martial art. And I see these guys, and I got a picture of a guy flying on their sign, 8 martial arts taught as 1. They got these cool beads in there, and they all have glassy eyes and talking pidgin English, and they're white dudes. You know, in the 80s, okay, talking like pidgin Korean. And using incomplete sentences that make no sense. And, you know, you'd fight one of these guys at a party or something. You know, you go to parties in high school and you meet people and you spar with them and you just have a good time, not like a fight, right? But these guys would be very arrogant, and they get their asses thrown all over the place by people who didn't even know anything, right? But people were giving them their entire paycheck. People were.
It was a cult from the moon.
It was a cult.
Yeah, it was part. Yeah,
it wasn't like this insane cult. So, I mean, like, and a lot of that was just, what would people believe? You know, and then I got involved in some Southern Chinese martial arts, you know, the Chuga, the Bak Mei stuff, and that stuff, you know, that's a whole other world. When you actually encounter the actual Chinese culture, and this is, let's say it's a working style, it's being used for a purpose, right? And you're just some guy from, you know, some kid from, you know, a regular working class family going, I don't have any idea what's going on here. Why are they asking me if I want a job collecting rents? I don't.
Yeah. People don't know that happens.
Yeah.
You know, and people say, no, in the martial arts, if you go into martial arts, everybody's good. Really? Some of the best enforcers came out of some of these arts.
Yeah, I think it's important to really watch. You know, there's an old saying that you know, in the Chinese martial arts, the teacher watches the student for 3 years, and then the student watches the teacher for 3 years. But I think that the student needs to watch the teacher from the beginning. Is this person, you know, a reasonable person? Is this person a decent person? I mean, we all know crazy folks in the martial arts. We could tell stories out of school all day long. But I've had the good fortune of training with people. None of them were perfect. I'm not perfect. No one's perfect on this planet.
Absolutely.
And I'm not going to pretend to be. But all these guys were stand-up guys, all really trying to do their best, both to impart their art to their people and to just live a decent life. And so when I look at someone that I think is off kilter, it's not just their martial art. You can look at every other aspect of their life. There's something not right about it. You know, and I'm not talking about the vagaries of life, or this relationship working or not working, but I'm looking at patterns of failure and in profession, and failures of patterns in relationships, and it's, absolutely. I mean, all of them at once, right? Not just one thing going wrong, which is kind of normal, right? So,
and you know, that's what you said is true. What you said is true, and a lot of people have to watch what art you're going to. Not only art, take the art out. The instructor you're going to, what are they doing? Are these the guys that right after class, or they're just going to sit back, all of a sudden roll one and start puffing right there? Because I guarantee you,
I've seen
that's what's going to happen. I've seen it.
I've seen it too.
Yeah, I've seen it. You know, and people that are highly respected, all of a sudden, oh, okay, you know. But so you have to open your eyes to everything that's out there. Here's another one. We're talking about the Chengmu School. Back in '89, I was in Dallas. You know, I was actually teaching Silat in '88 when I started teaching open, and I was 18 years old. I was a young fart, and I was teaching it in North Texas martial arts, and I was surrounded with a bunch of great guys. You know, Master Kempo, Parker Kempo, Tommy Burks, and Gaja Kempo, Grandmaster Rick Peralta used to be there. There used to be a Swai Jiao group there with Garrick West and with Clyde Castorena. and Clyde. They both became students of mine in the '90s because the Swaijiao just died off. I can't remember the teacher's name, but he was there.
The Genshin.
I can't remember.
Victor Key. Victor Key would have been in that town, Dallas, right?
Dallas, yeah.
Victor Key, yeah.
Victor Key, and then you had Greg Ellis, who taught, the internal arts. You had you grew up with a bunch of good group of seeing how they're teaching and that respect, the love for the other arts, not bringing people down, and we all did our part. Well, anyway, a friend of mine says, I want to do martial arts, and there's a school I'd like for you to go with me, check it out. It's a Chongmudo school. It's off of Park and Royal in Dallas. And I said, sure, let's go out there. We go in there and we started walking up the stairs, and I can smell the incense, as I'm walking up. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
as soon as I walked inside, everything was actually they had a Buddha and some stuff, and all of a sudden this door opens over here, and we help you, yes, and goes, okay. He signs in. He goes, wait here, and then another door over here opens, and come this way, and we walk over there, and we're sitting down there, and all of a sudden a door opens, come this way, and they cross those walkers, and I'm like, well, shit, how big is this place? It has more doors than anything. And all of a sudden we go to the back, and he goes, here's a Grand Master. The guy was shaved bald, had like a little Fu Manchu going, was Anglo, and I'm sitting down here, and he was in silk yellow butterfly,
Yeah.
And I'm sitting down there, and I'm saying, hi, how you doing? Paul, this and that. And he goes, why do you all want to learn martial arts? It starts talking.
Yeah.
And I go, well, I already do martial arts, but he wants to join your school. Oh, they're going to bring out some paperwork. Man, it was about that big, they brought out, thing to sign in there and everything. And he goes, would you like to join? I said, no, I'm fine. And then the guy says, when you get to the level that I'm at, I can control your mind. Well, I grew up in the streets, and I knew I've been around, and I'm like, okay. And I said, really? And he goes, look, and he pulls out a 32 Lama chrome, and he puts it on the desk, and he goes, pick it up and shoot me in the head. And I basically told him, fucked in the head for what? You crazy? You see, I'm controlling you. Oh yeah, no, it's called murder, you dumbass. Get out of here. We left the place, and about 9 months later, boom, they were hit with something, it came out in the paper, and apparently taking 10% of the pay of the paycheck of people. And
it was a big tax evasion case.
Yeah.
It's funny is I've been a pain in the backside of those people when they were up in Chicago, and there's stories. I mean, there's stories of them ganging up on people and doing bad things, and I was like, how could they? Even a bunch of these guys hurt anybody? Because I'd fought them. It's like, this is a joke. What is going on here? And I wasn't even that good back then. I was just a kid, right? And then I saw the news cameras and stuff outside one of the locations. I had me driving by for whatever reason. And of course, I'm still pretty young then. I got my leather jacket. I used to have long hair, and I looked like the world's ugliest woman because I have skinny fingers and long eyelashes. Apparently, long hair was not my thing. And it took me a while to figure that one out. And I pull up, and I see this Pam Zeckman was this newscaster from Chicago, big investigative reporter. I see her out there, and I walk up to her, and I go, Miss Zeckman. And she jumps out of her skin because she'd been threatened all over the place. And I go, hey, I'm sorry if I startled you. I just wanted to give you my card. I go, if you have any problems around here, if you just want me to hang out when you're doing your stories, I'll hang out from a distance, And I got buddies who'll do the same thing because I know these cretins. Some of them might try to do something stupid. And she's like, oh, I've been threatened, but that's okay. And obviously, it was a stupid thing to do, right? I was a teenager. I didn't know any better. But she was terrified. And I was like, there's no need to be terrified. Have you seen these guys? I mean, they might gang up on you. I can have like one of my high school buddies who's never trained, and he'll stand here and he'll take care of them. It's not a problem. But they had so convinced people that this was the one true martial art. They handed over their paychecks. They They signed contracts for, infinite amounts of time. They would keep leveling up to new things. They didn't sleep. They had these weird behaviors, like they could only do construction on certain days because those were nail days. And number 4 was unlucky, so nothing happened on the 4th of the month. And it's just insane. And yet at one time, like 12 schools in the Chicago area, packed with people, and we're just.
But people say it doesn't happen. It happens. You have some yo-yos out there. Believe me, you have some yo-yos, and people follow them. Well, anyway, unfortunately, we're laughing at these stories that go on there because it's the truth. But we, as martial artists, I guess our main thing right now, our main thing is let's produce good-natured folks that are going to be good citizens in society. Enough of the BS, because there's enough of that already.
Approach adversity with a smile.
Absolutely.
Don't back down from something that you should not back down from, but have the wisdom to not get yourself into things that you shouldn't get into, or to react just emotionally to everything. Right? That's one of the great benefits, I think, of martial arts is I always get asked, because I work in high pressure fields all the time, and people go, "How are you all so calm? Why are you all smiling? Why are you happy? The place can be burning down and I look happy and I'm just jolly," right? And well, you know what? I have had my head handed to me enough times, and in the ring when I was younger, learning the stuff that this doesn't really stress me out too much, And I've had my own, growing up in Chicago again. It's like I tell stories sometimes. People from other parts of the country look at me a little funny, like, how can that many things happen to one person? But then I had a student move to Chicago from West Virginia, and in the first year there, he'd been 4 people tried to mug him, right? And I go, now you understand. Now you understand the psychology there. But the martial art made it something that went from something that was scary. What's going to happen? How do I deal with conflict? How do I do this? How do I do that? To, I grabbed my coffee, I walked outside, dealt with that guy, grabbed my paper, and I went on. It's just a different mindset. It doesn't interrupt your day, right? But at the same time, when someone is trying to be a problem, like recently, I had some fellow out here, which shocked me, just start driving erratically all around me. So I just changed lanes and he started following me. Oh, this is weird. I mean, in the world of cell phones, why would someone be doing this, right? Maybe something's wrong, So I follow around. I don't call the police or anything, because when I grew up, that was not something you did. And maybe that was failing on my part. So finally I pull in this parking lot, and he pulls in, and I just block it, because something's going on. And this guy is clearly mentally disturbed. He's trying to provoke a fight. I think he wants to get beat up or something, or end up back in jail. He's talking about his time in jail and this and that and the other thing. And he's like, "You're the worst person in the world, kind of person in the world." And he doesn't know me. And I just look at him and go, "You're absolutely right. I really am. Could you help me with that?" And I just kept de-escalating and de-escalating and de-escalating and de-escalating. This is a guy who told me he had a wife and kids and all this stuff, and he was doing everything. And out here, everyone's armed. So he could be looking for suicide by person, right? Very, very, kind of typical thing. And I just de-escalated like crazy, and it didn't bother me. There's no heart rate adjustment, because the martial arts, you just become, you're flexible, you're adaptive, you're comfortable in what you understand. And I felt kind of bad that I didn't call the police, just let them get ushered away. But at the same time, I was glad I did, because he might have got himself shot. Maybe he was having a bad morning. Maybe he had something else, but there was something else going on there. It wasn't just the conflict he was bringing to me. He had some other conflict going on, and I was just not going to be that instrument of destruction for him, right? So that speaks to your idea, right?
You saved his life, and that's good, because, number one, he's thankful you thought that way. Because there's issues like that happen, the police show up, and all of a sudden the police.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You're
felt threatened.
That's the end of the story, and
yeah,
and they'll justify that. But I don't know. It's things have changed, and I guess it also depends on the martial art that you've trained in. Okay.
Yeah.
And because you've trained with a lot of great people. You've trained with individuals that are icons in the martial art, and they've passed that on to you. And hopefully, and it's by what you're saying and what is seen, you're passing that on to to your teachers, who later on one day are going to be instructors, and that's just the way it should be.
Yeah, it's, and you know what, and there's, to be honest, there's nothing more enjoyable. You know, martial
Absolutely.
culture is
Absolutely,
it's fun. You meet sort of wide range of people. You get to interact at so many different levels in society that most professions don't give you that opportunity.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You can have you can have in one class, you can have police officer, doctor, college kid, the guy in the underground that's, pretty tough, and everybody's right there peacefully laughing together and working out. You know what I'm saying? So,
No, absolutely.
and everybody doesn't care about the other one, what they do in their life. They're all just a brotherhood. And that's the neat part about it.
Absolutely. It's I got to tell you though, I sense there's all these stories lurking in the back of your brain that don't always get told because you're always interviewing other people. I'm going to volunteer to do an interview with you because I think there's going to be some great stories.
Anytime we can do that, we can sit down and talk. I love the podcasting ended up as an accident several years ago, and it's fun because you understand, you get to know people a lot better.
Yeah.
And it's also gives people, especially in the martial arts, it gives people a different view of what is the end result, right?
Right.
Why did I go into martial arts? Why did I become a world champion? Why did I become a teacher over here? Why did I use this and become a contractor for you know what I'm saying? After I got up, and you have to understand that, because those stories is what makes America really great. You know what I'm saying? So they need to be told.
I agree. It's funny. I was talking to a friend of mine. His name is Rick Solo. He's like a pioneer in Muay Thai, and he's like I think he's one of the highest trained Krabi Cabron guys in the U.S. Right? He was an early pioneer. He runs a great gym out of Chicago. I get a lot of great seats at fights because of him, right? And we were talking the other day, and he was talking about, like, there's all these guys out there. Like, there's some guy, he was talking about in LA, some policeman named Koga, who had developed his own restraint systems and stuff for the police. That was just like groundbreaking. And yet, after he passed away, there was, no evidence of that methodology, that system that evolved here, right? It was just gone. And then there's all these people doing all this interesting stuff. And, there's a ton more doing stuff we're really not interested in, but there's all these interesting people, and like finding them and making, seeing that this stuff gets, if not like a lineage, at least the knowledge gets carried on in some way, or the lessons learned, or the variances, right? It's like a lot of that stuff's getting lost. So
Absolutely. And more so every day. And I think it's gonna get worse. But with the internet, I think you can preserve it, and people can see it, and it's like this can go out, somebody can watch it over in your area and say, you know what, I'm interested in studying with. You know what I'm saying? And
yeah.
They'll search you out, or what have you. I'm interested in studying, Muay Thai, and they go study Muay Thai. But this is something that I tell people, and if they're listening out there, and you want to go train at a school, research the arts, man. Research the art that you think fits your personality, number one, before you start going out there, because in some areas they might not have it. It might not be there. So you might have to research what's around there and just train. And if it's a chop and block school that you're going to just for that main time, just to do something to get better, do so. Belong to it.
Yeah, or just look for the best thing that you can find in your area. Like I had a guy who was from one of my Shuai Jiao clubs back when I was real heavy in Shuai Jiao, and he had moved. And I go, hey, I know some Shuai Jiao guys down there, and he didn't really jibe with their vibe. They were a little cultish and stuff, and I'm very, I think Dave Cater inside Kung Fu used to call my fight team the college wrestling team of Chinese martial arts when I was doing Sanda teams, right? Because we just laughed and had a good time and fought and whatever, right? And he moves down there, and I go, what else is down there? And I looked at myself and I go, one of the best judo gyms in the US is right there. Go do judo. He goes, well, what about Shuai Jiao? I go, you got the best judo teacher in 1,000 miles right there. Do that, right? Please don't feel stuck to me. Go do whatever the best thing you can do is, right? And then, years later he came back, and now he's doing all the Silat stuff with me and stuff, and runs one of my largest groups, right? But I pushed him. He trained with like Miguel Torres and MMA, did this, he did that when he didn't have access to the stuff we were doing, because you find the best you can do, right? And then do it. And then, I'm not going to get into the whole topic of how you determine what's best. That's a whole can of worms, right? But I know if you're in Laredo, I know where to go. So,
well, but what was I going to say? But usually, like I tell folks, if you're looking for a martial arts school in that area, I'm pretty sure within a couple of people, we can figure out who's the best someplace. I'll give you a call, or call, Gavin over in Chicago, or call we'll find out real quick if the person's legit or not.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Is he sound in mind? More so than anything else. You know what I'm saying? Or
have a good heart, decent morality, actual skill.
Absolutely. And you need to understand that there's a connection. And right now with the internet, with everybody, listen, and your page, my page, and everybody's there. From grandmasters from Kempo to grandmasters in Chinese arts, all the spectrum, they're in there somewhere. Somebody's going to find them real quick. Or all you have to do is, hey, does anybody know anybody in Baton Rouge? I'm pretty sure somebody's going to say, hey, my friend has a school. My student is there. That's the easiest thing in today's world. The easiest thing to do is to find a school.
It's like, you remember the days of going to a hotel and the first thing you do is go to the phone book and see what kind of schools are around. Who can you visit? Tearing pages out. I'm going to go to this place.
Yeah. And you're absolutely correct. You're absolutely correct. That it's changed dramatically. Or in the comic books, when you look in the back and it was Count Dante.
Oh, man, that's a Chicago icon right there. And I know a guy actually who trained in that school, and this guy is actually, you look at him and physically he's impressive. He is impressive. He's done all kinds of other stuff, right? Very impressive guy physically in terms of his movement and this and that. And he's a sweetheart guy, so I'm not gonna name names or anything, but he definitely needs a little help getting through the day, right? But Chicago, we had the whole Black Dragon, Green Dragon Society war. A buddy of mine in college, his dad's friend was one of the guys who died in the Green Dragon Hall, right? When they dojo crashed it. So all kinds of crazy stuff in that town.
But it's happened. People say, no, it really didn't happen. Of course it did.
Yeah.
Of course it did. It's not in the movies. It happened. It happened.
It still did. I mean, it's like every once in a while I got someone, like, they knew me when I was, one of the times I was in Chicago, and they'll say something like, man, you were teaching out of the park in Chinatown. That's calling your shot hard. And I'm like, well, no, I already had a good reputation, so no one's going to fuck with me. Right. And I knew all the different teachers and the tongs and whatnot already. It was not a problem. But the reality is there was that element, right? There was that element where there was always a constant challenge. There always a constant thing. But it's not like the movies. It's not like you had to fight everybody. You size the person up. If it's someone who's just coming to get hurt, you just encourage them to leave, because you don't want to just hurt someone for no reason, right? They're not competent. You don't fight them. I mean, it's just, there was rules in Chicago, right? And if people weren't following those rules or they weren't right, you ushered them out the door. Let them think they're the better man. Okay, go. Because you're not you don't want to be the person just beating up an idiot, right? So there was a balance, but when it was a legit thing, you didn't back down. You didn't say no, because you're teaching.
Absolutely. I mean, it happens, and the test could come as blunt as anything else, or it could come in right before you're teaching and right after you're teaching, it happens, and you have to be ready for it. And this is a job that we that we took. This is what we do as a vocation. We're out there, and you're going to have some jamokes out there.
Always. And as we get older, that's what you get students for.
And I got one there, and Uncle Bill laughs at this one because we're sitting down there in Denver. We're sitting down, and my Paul, he goes, what do you feel now than when you felt when younger? And I go, what do you mean? I feel now what I feel younger. And we started talking, and I said, I don't want to grow old, I said, and be one of these martial art instructors that all he talks about is spirituality. And I turn around and he goes, what do you mean? But it seems that all these martial artists that go into the spirituality trance never fought before. Now they have to use that as a kind of a division from their people. There's good guys, and he goes,
Yeah.
And Uncle, he was just like nodding his head in agreement. He goes, that's what we have to train. Yep. That's exactly right. You know what I'm saying? That's why you have to train. And you see that. You see it in the martial arts. You go into some place, and the first thing they start talking about is spirits and all this other stuff. I'm like, and then you look at them, and then you realize, oh, okay.
Yeah. There's always,
and that's what people need to understand. Why are you going to go train? What's the reason for you to go train? Why are you training? Yeah. What's the reason?
Well, it's like, right now I sit in this weird little world of, it's not combat sport, and it's not what people expect from a quote unquote traditional martial art, right? And it kind of floats in its own space. So I get a lot of guys who've done combat sports and now want to do something a little more practical in the outside world, or they're just attracted to the myth of it, right? The lethality and all this kind of stuff, right? And they show up, they want to improve their self-defense, right? And then you have people that are just looking for a place to be, right? They're great byproduct of this training is because it involves so much physicality. We've gotten really good at rehabilitating the most common injuries that you see in the US from ergonomics, from tight psoas muscles or this or that. I swear, it was a shame I can't have a medical license. Got to make more money doing that than ever teaching martial arts. But I see more guys coming to the class all jacked up, but they just want to do martial arts. But first you have to, I'm not saying I'm diagnosing diseases or fixing anything by law here, but you got to get people, if they're trying to take certain postures and they're moving all kind of funky, what's wrong with them. And then you have exercise to prescribe. It's in the art itself. It teaches you how to fix that and how to fix this and how to fix that, so they can have their physicality and stuff. And then once they have their physicality, then you got that whole mind body thing, right? Like, I just always cracks me up. In the United States, they all say, oh, we're going to combine your mind and body. And I'm like, brother, it's already combined. If it wasn't, you're dead. Right? There's no, and the Chinese word is shengti, body mind. The other word, I forget what it is corpse, right? There's no, it's like, what you do to the martial arts is how to make that thing work better, right? How to stay calm under pressure, how to have courage, not bravery. Anyone can be brave, unless you're stupid if you're brave. But if you have courage, the shit could hit the fan. You do it anyhow, and you do it with aplomb. Do it with a smile, right? Have the courage to be an upstanding person and do the right thing, right? And have the courage not to be a weak inside to where you have to lash out, right? These are all things that come from martial arts. It works it out right out of you,
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. Mind, body, and now they put soul. Mind, body, and soul. In martial arts, we're going to teach mind, body, and soul. And you're like,
sure. How about this? I hit you, your soul leaves your body. That's my understanding.
That's my understanding. Let me teach you something real quick. Come over here.
Let's see if it's there.
But it's funny because when you were talking about that, about people coming in and they have something wrong, not physically wrong with them, or they've been hurt before and they're trying to do martial arts. kind of hard telling them, Savat's one that's moving all over the place.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, it ain't going to happen. You have to work at it, and
Yeah.
I think that's why it's but you can still teach them some stuff, but it's different. I think that's where it's lacking.
There's a really interesting line there, because what you're saying, I mean, I know a good bit about you, right? So I know you're not the kind of person who just gives permission away to people. I've never heard of any, you have very strict standards, especially with your Savat and some stuff, which is important. I try to live by a similar code. But you have people who want to be part of things and do things, right? And they help keep the lights on, they help stuff happen, and you really improve and impact their life. But there's this pressure in today's society that if someone's been there long enough and ticked enough boxes, congratulations, you get your certificate. And, I know from the grapevine that's not true in your school, and I know it's not true in mine. And that creates a gap. I mean, I've had people come in who were part of things for a while, and they never got past a certain level of the training. That's their choice. It's not my choice. That's their choice, right? And they start complaining to me, and I'm like, well, do the work, right? If they can't do the work, I was like, you're welcome. You can continue to improve. You continue to do these things, but don't expect to be someone who's a standard bearer for the method, because you can't do it.
Yep. No, you're absolutely correct on that. And here's something that I, over the years that I've seen and stuff like that. And I've had a lot of students come in, and I've had students that would say, you know what, I don't want to test. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Let's continue. Just learn what you can, work out and continue training. If you can. And then 2, 3, 4, 5 years go by, and they said, he's higher ranked than I am. How come I've never ranked? But weren't you 3 years ago or 2 years ago when we told you that you should come up and test? That you weren't you the ones that told me you were so humble you didn't want to test and you didn't care about that?
Yeah.
And now you're telling me you want to test? Show me the material. And they can't do it.
Yeah.
And I go, there's a difference between understanding a system has some kind of pedagogy to it, and you have to follow it to learn it, to be able to teach it, and so on and so forth. What more do I want for people to go out there and be teaching dance through Savat?
Right.
That's what I want, people come to that. In this past month, I've had a couple that say, well, we're going to be having a test coming up. You guys doing? Oh, we don't want to. And I go, and I've made a form, literally, because I've had so many people start off with the professor, he has his favorites, or, he's an asshole about, he doesn't want me, it's politics or whatever. So we had one of the lawyers, and I drafted it up. You want to test? You don't want to test? Here, sign this right here. Goes in your file. Put it away. So in case 2, 3 years down the road, remember this? Yeah. I'm sorry, but we're serious enough to continue moving forward. That kind of thing. So you have to be serious. And I'll tell people that as well. I don't care whether you train in the park. I don't care whether your class is in a gym where you have to buy and you're leasing and you're actually putting money up front and so on and so forth, or in a rec center, or in your garage. The instant you start teaching other people, you became a professional martial artist instructor. I don't care if you come in and you say, you know what, you can work out here on every Saturday. It's going to be here at my house. You can work out here. As soon as you accepted people, you became a professional martial art instructor. People might not like that, but that is the fact. So you have to meet a standard, because that's going to follow you. So if you want to give out certificates, he's been here 2, 3 years, and I'm just going to sign it and do whatever, and here it is, or you see him and you say, that's your test, fine. Or if you have physically a list of things that they have to follow, to learn for the system, and that's the test, more power to you. Or can they do these techniques? Can he perform them? Can he perform them to the basic level, to the intermediate level, to the advanced level? Does he know the names of the techniques. Like you said, I can teach you in Indonesian. Does he know what he's talking about? Because
Yeah.
all that matters. All that matters.
It absolutely does. And there is it's like, and I don't want to put off people from martial arts who like have some significant energy or they're older. I have so many students now who are older, who've fallen out of martial arts and are coming back to it. And I'm like, and you're picking Silat, but they come anyhow, right? It's like, and we have a process by which to help them become the best they can be, right?
Sure.
But that disconnect is the person who can carry a system, right, has to be able to do it and not just replicate the movements, replicate the outer form. It has to be in them. They have to be able to demonstrate they can use it. I often tell this story because I don't think anyone else was tested this way after me, but and this I don't know if I should even tell the story. I'll probably get in trouble for this, but when I tested with Poc Steve, we were actually down. I was with one of my students, flew out from Chicago because I'd moved to California at the time. We drove down from the Bay Area down to LA to do a photo shoot at Inside Kung Fu Magazine. And then Steve decided he was going to test me while we were down there. And he was collecting phone books. So I didn't know what he was doing, collecting phone books. And he went out and bought duct tape. And then we were strapped up like Schlager fencers, which I'd done. My scars grown over by now. It's been so long. But we strapped up these phone books and put collars on. And then we did live blade sticky hand exercises. Now we limited the targets because we don't kill each other, right? But you were allowed to stab and slash the body. And my student who was a really tough guy, gave a squeal and like hid in the corner when we were doing that. Steve and I were laughing. We were having a good time, right? Because he was such a high level of skill that I wasn't worried about him accidentally killing me. I was just trying hard not to accidentally kill him in the process. But that skill had to be spot on, right? I could demonstrate his knife skill against him, with him, right? In a way that had an elevated level of danger. So you're that heightened sense, you have that, I forget what the term is, there's a psychophagia. I don't know what it is. It's a thing where you've experienced it. Someone punches at you and you see it coming a mile away. It's like, oh, okay. But all those elements come into play, and that's hard to replicate, in a civilized world, right? It just is. And I talk to my students about that. I go, I can't do that to you guys because I don't feel comfortable, going that stretch. So instead, we're going to go compete in things, right? We're going to go. In fact, I'm already talking. I won't be able to do it this year, but next year I'm going to bring some guys down to your stick fighting challenge, right? Just for fun, right? But to give them that opportunity, that chance to get someone swinging a stick at their head and give it a shot, right?
Come on. We have one, and we have the 2021 Texas Stick Fighting Championships on September 25th.
September 25th. I saw that and I was like, there's no way I could work that.
Then we're trying to put the American Stick Fighting Championship, and they picked December 4th. So I'm like, do we have it December 4th, or we do move it to January or whatnot? And I think that one we should get everybody to come down and
that would be fun.
You know what I'm saying? And let everybody just go at it. And I'm trying to bring down. I spoke with Guru Carlito Bonjo, which and I would like for him to come down, and he had some surgery on his leg, and I would like for him to come down because he's just a fascinating individual to give a seminar to everybody.
It would be awesome.
The day before, and then the next day we have the tournament, and make sure that it's done right, and have representatives from all over the place. You know what gets me with the tournament? Changing the subject, because
sure.
And because what you're talking about is pure reality. Okay. But when we started the Gentlemen's Stick Fighting Coalition, it was Art Gonzalez was a tremendous knife man. Grandmaster Art Gonzalez. It was Michael Giron, Leo Giron's son, Grandmaster. They're all Grandmasters, and Grandmaster Vincent Cabales' son. We're all sitting down and talking about, we should do, does Savat have a cane? I go, yeah, it has a cane. And we started playing around. Everybody was just laughing and everything else. And one of them said, we should have a competition with everything. And I go, yeah. So we have to have a competition where everything meets. So we ended up fusing rules from Savat, from boxing, from Lacan, from Bajalana, Doce Pares, Grandmaster Alpha Bandalan, who just passed away, who saw it and he was happy with it. And so we started the first one, here in Texas. And I said, hopefully it can grow under a set of rules where it's reality based. We don't have to beat up everybody. Half the people wouldn't come. The first ones would say, "Oh, I'm going to do that because you're striking each other with a foam stick. We strike each other with baseball bat or whatever." And I'm going, "Yeah, whatever. Please, please, please."
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like I went and I downloaded your rules the other night, right? Because I was like, oh man, this year's too fast, but next year I could probably do something, right? And I read the rules, and my son was reading them because you're going to do this, he's going through the rules. He goes, "Oh, I can't do this, I can't do this, I can't do this." I go, "Yeah, but look what you can do. Look what you can learn by doing this, right? There's endless opportunities in this, and they're fun rules, and they're the same damn sticks I played with him since he was a little kid with, right? This will be fun."
Yeah, and it's my son does it, and my son and my daughter did it. We did one in Houston. My daughter, now she's 15. She was about 10, and she walked in, and they were all training. And she sat down and goes, and all of a sudden I turn around and she's wearing a mask, and she picks one up and she goes, and I go, "Yeah," and she beat them all up.
Awesome. I love
I
it.
said, "You're going to compete." So she went over there and she won, and then all of a sudden she said, "Okay, I won. I don't have to do it again." She goes, "Okay, all right, you're fine," but it's fun. It's something that that you need to have a legitimate strike, not just a Peter Panner.
Yep.
You have to have a legitimate strike. It has to be well armed and well marked. Believe me, if you get hit with a stick in the street that way or with a blade that way, you're not getting up. That's the reality of the thing. It's so, but people want to have this continuous stuff out there that they look like if they're hitting a piñata, and
I don't
it's
like
not.
that.
That's not what it is. That's not what it is.
Yeah, there's I play with different rules and stuff with things, and I came from a slightly less sane generation, so like we had no problem. Someone shows up doing dog brother, yeah, let's do that, right? Fun. But I can't in good because I watch other people who like are not from the same mindset. They get hurt somehow. I don't know how they even hurt themselves, but they're prone to get. I call it the glass jaw syndrome. They don't even know they have a glass jaw. They're gonna hurt themselves no matter what they do. So you have to progressively put them through something else. But I learned this from that early teacher of mine, that guy Manuel Rodriguez, Cifra Rodriguez, who's fantastic. He would put me under any rule set I had to fight. Right, the guy turned me into a champion. I mean, I won a world Sanda championship because he just made me do what I thought was the ridiculous. Because I was real, I'm gonna go in and do this the harsh way. Because no, you're developing skills. Each of these rule sets gives you a certain skill. Now, if you do only that skill set and play only to win, you're gonna suck in reality because you're playing against the rules. But if you understand what the rules are for and what you're allowed to train, you train that, you win with that, you're good.
Absolutely.
And that's what I like about your rules is that, it's a handful of skills that you get to practice. The safety built around it will keep people from being idiots, right? And getting hurt inadvertently, badly, right? And you get to develop some real skills. It's fun. I'm looking forward to diving into that. So
we have to, and that's the only way we're going to keep it open. And you take it with you when you go back, and everybody else takes it back and has one, and it continues to grow. You understand? And that's just the way it is.
Sounds fun. I talked my son into organizing one up here then after we do that.
Yeah. We'll get it done. We'll get it done. But let me tell you this, my brother. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure seeing you again, really, because we've always been on Facebook chatting back and forth, but actually seeing each other like it was for a while. It's been 20 years, actually. Man.
20 years. Yes. Flies.
But you be safe. I want to thank you for what you're doing. Keep it alive. Keep it real. And I think you're doing that.
Thank you for having me here tonight, Paul. It's great talking to you. Hopefully, we don't have to do it in public here, but we can hopefully chat much more often. So,
well, anytime. You be safe.
Take care.
All right, my brother. Bye.
God bless.